Hi guys, and welcome back to I Speak English. My name's Hayley, and in this lesson we're going to be taking a look at some vocabulary specifically for your Cambridge C1 exam, and we're going to be looking at the topic of technology. So we're actually going to be taking a look at some phrasal verbs, idiomatic expressions, and colloquial expressions as well for you to use in your speaking exam. They might pop up in keyword transformation or use of English as well, so it's going to be helpful for that. These expressions actually come from the last podcast episode that I published last week, which was on AI. If you've not watched that yet, go ahead and watch it. It's really good for your listening skills and good for vocabulary as well. There's tons of C1 and C2 level vocab in there, and there's a free vocabulary list and transcript with it in the description as well. I'll put that link up there so you can save that for later. And don't forget to subscribe as well. I post weekly videos every Saturday, long form videos, and shorts every single day. So if you want to keep learning English every day for free, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a little like as well. It just helps it to get to more people so that they can prepare for their C1 exam as well. Right, let's start learning our vocab. So as I said in the intro, we're going to be taking a look at some phrasal verbs. We've got 4 phrasal verbs, 4 idioms and 4 colloquial expressions. Then I'm going to give you a quick test on them to make sure that you've learnt them properly and you know how to use them. And then I'm going to show you how you could use them in your speaking part 1 and part 4. So let's take a look at our 4 phrasal verbs then. So our first one is to switch off. Okay, switch off. You might already know this in the kind of literal context, like you switch off a light. Or you switch off your phone, meaning you kind of stop giving that thing energy. But in the podcast, when I mentioned it, I talked about switching off my brain. So you can switch off mentally as well. For example, you could say, I find it really hard to switch off when my phone's next to my bed. You know, because it's right there and I'm thinking about, picking it up and messing with it rather than just stopping what's going on in my head, switching off mentally. Right, so that's our first one. Our second one is take over. Okay, so for example, tech gurus are predicting that AI will completely take over white-collar jobs in the next 5 years. Take over meaning to take control, to completely take all control of something. So quite a scary prediction, AI taking over our jobs. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that AI is going to take over your job? Or do you think people are just being a bit dramatic? Let me know. Might give you a chance to practice this phrasal verb in the comments as well, if you leave me a little comment there. Next up, we've got filter out. Okay. For example, some hiring systems are using AI to filter out CVs before a human ever sees them. Okay, so to filter out, meaning to kind of get rid of stuff based on certain criteria. Okay, so a filter only lets certain things through the filter, right? So you're only giving access to a certain thing or you're getting rid of other things based on certain criteria. So some hiring systems are using AI to filter out CVs before a human even sees the CV. Again, a bit scary. Not ideal if you're applying for a job. That might be why you haven't heard back from interviews or anything, because AI is filtering your CV out. And our final one, our final phrasal verb is to keep up with. Okay, so this one you should already know because it's like B2, C1 level. It's exhausting trying to keep up with every new AI tool that comes out. So if you keep up with something, you're like staying at the correct level, or maintaining that level, or you can often say to keep up to date with as well. Keep up to date with every new AI tool that comes out, or to keep up. Okay. Right, so we've got our 4 phrasal verbs. I'm going to test you now. I'm going to give you a quick fill in the gap exercise with our phrasal verbs. So our sentence is, after reading that disturbing news article, I couldn't, it just kept me awake all night. And you have box somebody in, switch off, and filter out. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to complete this sentence with one of these phrasal verbs. Okay, off you go. Alright, your time is up. What did you go for? Leave your answer in the comments if you want. So you should have gone for switch off. After reading that disturbing news article, I couldn't switch off. So I couldn't stop my mind from going on and on and on. I couldn't mentally switch off. Just kept me awake all night. Alright, I've got one more test for you then on these phrasal verbs. So we've got, it's amazing how much algorithms now, what content we see online. Okay, you've got switch off, take over, or filter out. It's amazing how much algorithms now, what content we see online. I'll give you 5 seconds again. Complete this sentence with one of those phrasal verbs. Off you go. Alright, you should have gone for filter out. It's amazing how much algorithms now filter out what content we see online. Okay, so they only let certain content through for you to see based on certain criteria. Alright, cool. So our phrasal verbs are done. We're going to move on and take a look at some idioms now. Okay, so our first one was to open a can of worms. Alright, it's a very common idiom to open a can of worms. If you open a can of worms, it's like you cause lots of extra problems, either usually by discussing something. But it's almost like you're trying to solve one problem and then you end up causing lots more problems because you're trying to solve something. So you can use it in an example. Using AI in courtrooms really opens a can of worms about fairness and bias. Okay, so if you were to use AI in a courtroom, you'd probably end up causing more problems or making things less fair or causing more bias by doing that. So you open a can of worms, you cause lots of problems. Okay. Our next one is a black box. Okay, this is quite literal, but it can also be a bit kind of non-literal as well. For example, many advanced AI models are basically a black box, even to their developers. A black box is like you don't know what's inside it. So it's like it refers to like a system, a very complex system that you don't really know anything about. You're just kind of blind to this thing. It works, but you don't know how it works. Like AI, for example. Very complex, but a lot of developers don't even know how AI works, so it's a bit of a black box. Okay. Next up, we've got to level the playing field. Okay, another really common idiom. So if you level the playing field, you make something fair. You make everything equal. So in theory, AI could help level the playing field in education. So it can help make education more accessible for people. Again, if you use AI, maybe it's free for people to use. So it just evens everything out. Everybody has the same amount of access, the same level of education, okay? Levels the playing field. This you can apply to everything. It's not necessarily technology-based. You can apply it to different contexts as well. Alright, and our final one, the elephant in the room. This is a really common one. We use it quite a lot in English. So if the elephant in the room is like the obvious thing that nobody is talking about, or that nobody wants to talk about. For example, the elephant in the room is that AI may take people's jobs. So it's like everyone knows it, but nobody's saying anything about it. It's the elephant in the room. Okay. So it's like, again, imagine there is literally a massive elephant in the middle of the room and everyone's just pretending that the elephant isn't there instead of talking about it. That's the elephant in the room. Alright, so I'm going to give you another test, this time on the 4 idioms that we just looked at. So again, we've got to fill in the gap here. We've got, he said, we should avoid discussing data privacy during the meeting because it would, you have open a can of worms, level the playing field, or the elephant in the room. I'll give you 5 seconds to complete this phrase with one of those idioms. Off you go. Alright. What did you go for? Time's up. You should have gone for open a can of worms. So we shouldn't discuss this data privacy thing because it's just going to open a can of worms. It's just going to cause a bunch more problems, and then we're going to have to talk about all of those problems as well. So we just won't say anything. Okay. Alright, and another one for you. So now we've got a black box, level the playing field, and the elephant in the room. And you need to complete this sentence. Teachers hope that free online resources will help for students from different backgrounds. Okay, black box, level the playing field. The elephant in the room. You've got 5 seconds to complete this sentence. Off you go. Right, time's up. You should have gone for level the playing field. Teachers hope that free online resources will help level the playing field for students from different backgrounds. Okay, so to make everything equal, or to give like equal opportunity to different people. Right, lovely. Heading on to our more kind of colloquial expressions. So in the podcast, I said that there was an idea that was buzzing around my head. So if an idea buzzes around your head, it's like you can't stop thinking about that idea. It's just like, it doesn't stop. To use it in a sentence, you could say, the speed of AI development keeps buzzing in my brain all the time. Okay, so you've got this idea, buzzes around your brain or around your head, either way. Next up, we've got to box you in or box somebody in. So it's kind of a phrasal verb, really. So our example is, used badly, AI can actually box you in rather than set you free. If something boxes you in, it limits you, it restricts you. Imagine if someone put you in a box and you can't get out of that box, you're just stuck. So you're limited kind of to that environment. So if you're boxed in, yeah, you're oppressed, you're restricted. So AI can box you in rather than set you free. Okay, we've got 2 left. We've got scramble to keep up. Okay. So I said schools are scrambling to keep up with how students use AI. Alright, so we already know what keep up means. It's like to stay at the correct level, or the latest level, let's say. Scramble is like, it's like a way that you move. It's kind of like climb, but in a really disorganized, chaotic way. So if you're scrambling to keep up, it's like you can't keep up and you're just trying, chaotically to do anything you can to keep up or get to that level. Okay, so schools are scrambling to keep up with how students use AI. So they can't keep up, basically. All right, and our final one is shape our lives. Something shapes your life. For example, AI has been quietly shaping our lives in the background for years. Okay, so it's literally kind of building your life or forming your life or what your life looks like. Alright, so they are our 4 colloquial expressions. So again, I've got one more test for you, and then I'm going to show you how to use these in Speaking Part 1 and Speaking Part 4. So let's take a look at our examples. So we've got shape our lives, box you in, scramble to keep up. And our sentence is, social media is great for expression, but it can also, by reinforcing narrow perspectives. Alright, you've got 5 seconds to complete this sentence. Off you go. Alright, time's up. So social media is great for expression, but it can also box you in by reinforcing narrow perspectives. Okay, it can restrict you. Okay, so you're not so expressive. You're restricted or limited in some way because it reinforces stereotypes or perspectives. All right, final test. So again, shape our lives, scramble to keep up with, and keep buzzing in her brain. We've got she kept going round in circles. The idea just, and she couldn't stop thinking about it. You've got 5 seconds. Complete this sentence. Off you go. All right, time's up. What did you go for? Leave your answer in the comments if you want. The idea just kept buzzing in her brain and she couldn't stop thinking about it. Okay, so you've got an idea just bzzz, like a bee in your brain going round. You can't stop. Right, nice. So there's all our vocab. Now let's take a look at it in the exam, how you could use it. So we're going to take a look at some speaking part 1 questions. Technology is a really common topic to get in speaking part 1. If you are struggling with the speaking tasks, I've got a few other videos. I've got a speaking part 2 video, I'll put that there. I've also got a few for speaking part 3 as well. I'll put another one up here that show you tasks and how to approach speaking part 2 and 3. But we're going to take a look at part 1 and 4 now. So yeah, click up there and save those videos for later if you want to watch them. So for now, a question you might get asked in speaking part 1 is, do you use a lot of technology in your everyday life? Okay. So to answer, you can just give a brief answer to part 1 questions. You could say something like, absolutely. You know, like most people, I use my phone and my laptop, smart devices every day. Sometimes I wish I could switch off my brain and take a break from notifications, but it's hard when you're constantly connected. Technology definitely shapes our lives more than we realise. Okay, so we've got switch off, you've got a phrasal verb there, and we've got shape our lives, nice colloquial expression. So remember, in your speaking exam, this is where you have the opportunity to use phrasal verbs, because it's informal. And the examiners want to hear these expressions and these phrasal verbs from you. If you manage to use a few phrasal verbs, you'll get higher marks for language in your exam. So try to use them if you can. Also just try to use them in everyday speech, because they're very common for native speakers to use in everyday speech as well. All right, another question you might get, speaking part 1. How do you feel about social media? Okay, let me know how you feel actually in the comments. Write me a little response to these questions. Try to use the vocabulary from today's lesson, and I'll correct you if you need it, in, like grammar-wise. But let me know what you feel about social media. You could respond, it's a double-edged sword, so I've thrown in an extra idiomatic expression there, double-edged sword. I think I did this maybe in the last lesson that I put out. Can't remember. It's definitely in a few of my lessons. Double-edged sword is something that has a negative and a positive side. Is a double-edged sword. Really nice idiom to use in your C1 exam. So it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it connects people and it can level the playing field, especially for small businesses or voices that might not otherwise be heard. But on the other hand, kind of constant stream of content can be overwhelming, and I often try to filter out the noise so I can focus on what really matters. Okay. So we've got double-edged sword, level the playing field, and filter out. So we've got a couple of idioms there and a phrasal verb all in one response. Really nice response. So for part 1 questions, keep it brief, but do try to use a range of vocabulary if you can. Alright, so we'll take a look at one more part 1 question. They might say, are you someone who always wants the latest gadgets or devices? You could say, not really. I used to try and keep up with the newest releases, but these days I'm more selective. Honestly, it feels like companies update things so quickly that consumers are left scrambling to keep up, and it's expensive and not really worth it. Alright, so we've got keep up with and scrambling to keep up. Right, so there are part 1 questions, just to give you a brief idea of how you can respond. Part 4, so these are a bit more in-depth, and also remember you might also be discussing these with the other candidate in the exam. So they might say something like, do you think people rely on technology too much these days? Again, let me know what you think in the comments. Write me a response to this question. Try and use some of the vocab that I've taught you. And we can have a little chat in the comments. However, you could say, as a response, in some ways, yeah, technology has definitely shaped our lives to the point where it's hard to function without it. People are glued to their phones, and it's getting harder to switch off your brain at the end of the day. The convenience is great, but it comes at cost, especially to mental well-being. So we've got an extra phrasal verb there, glued to. If you are glued to something, you can't look away from it, okay? You're literally stuck with like glue to something. We normally use this for technology. You're glued to a screen, you're glued to your phone, you're glued to the TV, to a website. So we often use this for technology. We've also got shaped our lives, switch off. So you can just see how this different vocab helps to, flesh out your response. And, it just gives you a bit of variety so that you're not repeating yourself. That's another thing examiners will mark you down for in the exam if you're repeating the same vocabulary all the time. Okay. Alright, another part 4 question. In what ways has technology changed communication? So you could say it's revolutionized communication, but not always for the better. It's easy to stay in touch, but the sheer volume of messages and notifications is overwhelming. I often feel that I need to filter out distractions just to have a meaningful conversation. Social media can also box people in, exposing them only to views that they already agree with, like an echo chamber. Alright, so we've got a bit of extra vocabulary here. We've got an echo chamber. An echo chamber is like a room or an environment where whatever you say is echoed back at you. So basically everyone agrees with you. So if you have, we use this a lot online as well. If you have like an online community or a YouTube channel where everyone agrees with everything you say, then that's an echo chamber, because they're just echoing your words back to you. Okay. We also had sheer. That word there is quite nice, little adverb there. The sheer volume of messages. Sheer we use for like a big amount of something. You would use it as and this way it would be an adjective actually, because you're putting it in front of a noun. But yeah, for something to just a big amount of something, you would use sheer to describe that amount. Alright, so we've got filter out, box people in, echo chamber, lovely vocab there. Another part 4 question for you. Do you think artificial intelligence will improve people's lives? Again, let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you think it will improve? Or do you think it will ruin our lives? Let me know, and I will give you some corrections if you need it. You could say, it definitely has the potential to do so. In areas like medicine or education, AI can really help level the playing field by offering access to resources that used to be limited. But it's also a black box. Most people don't fully understand how it works, which makes it hard to trust. And that's why it's important to stay informed and cautious. Okay. Again, remember you'll be kind of discussing this with the other person in your exam. So it might not look exactly like that, but it's just giving you an idea of how you can respond. Alright, one more question. Some people say AI could eventually replace many jobs. How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comments how you feel. You could say, that's the elephant in the room, isn't it? Everyone enjoys the benefits of AI, but few want to talk about the long-term impact on employment. If machines take over too many roles, we may see whole industries disappear, and as AI develops faster and faster, people are left scrambling to keep up, often without any clear path for the future. Right, so there you go. There you have it. That's technology vocabulary. There's lots more vocabulary where that came from. I'll leave some vocabulary lists in the description for you, actually, so don't forget to download those. They'll be on lots of different topics because there's so much vocab for C1. But that's how you would use technology vocabulary in your exam to give yourself a bit more variety. If you learned something new today, or if this video really helped you, please do give this video a like. It just helps it to reach more people and, give them a bit of help for their exam as well. Don't forget to subscribe. Again, I do upload videos every week for you, so you can carry on prepping for your C1 exam if you subscribe, and you won't miss a video. If you've got any questions, any comments, let me know. Write me a little comment. And as usual, if you do want to take a lesson with me, I am available for lessons, group C1 lessons and individual lessons as well. Just go to www.englishclassesonline.co.uk and I'd be happy to help you anytime you need some help. Just let me know. That's all from me for today, and I'll see you in another lesson soon.